Make a start. So hopefully today you'll get a bit more information regarding the Masters in Business for Agri-Food and Rural Enterprise course. Um, so why would you consider undertaking a Masters in the first place? Well, at the end of the day, we want to develop students who are available to the industry with a master in the knowledge areas that they are working in, and also to help develop connections within the industry. Many people come onto the programme with a focus of personal development and career development, so to further enhance their skills and their knowledge, um, building on what they've completed within their technical undergraduates. There's opportunity to switch your career focus more into a leadership or management position, and help develop your own career progression, and also then whenever you complete your project and complete the program, we hope you have a sense of accomplishment within your achievements. So this is just an example of some of our recent graduates. As you can see, they've graduated down at Queen's. This was one of our full-time groups. So this was a winter graduation. So the program itself is a taught master's program, possibly different to others. So within that, there is 6 taught modules and a research module, which we'll cover in a wee minute. The course is offered both full-time and part-time. Full-time starting in September and then concluding the following August. So it's one full calendar year, whereas the part-time course is delivered over 3 academic years. So starting in September to June and then continuing that on throughout the course of the programme. The programme covers a range of topics, and these are aimed to develop our skills that are needed by managers and leaders within our agri-food sector. We have a range of students with very varying undergraduates. Some of our past students have had backgrounds in education, law, environmental science, history, sports studies, and also then technical food and agriculture. It's important to highlight, though, that this is not a technical master's programme. It is more about the soft skills that you will be developing to move into that more leadership or management role. So just bear that in mind. The programme itself is taught here in Loughry, but is very much offered in conjunction with Queen's University Belfast. And with that, then you have access to a range of resources available through the Queen's systems and the Queen's library resources. So, as I said, the course is delivered here at Loughry outside Cookstown, with teaching happening for the full-time students, as I said, on the calendar year from September to August on a Monday and Tuesday. Within that Tuesday session, you have a talk class, and then there's also a number of workshops, visits, and guest speakers coming in. And this helps to round out experiences for full-time students. Part-time teaching then occurs here again in Loughry on a Thursday evening between 7 and 9 p.m. In person. And all of our assessment is through coursework. We don't have any set exams. So most of the modules are assessed through a written report and then also a presentation relevant to the subject area. Overview then just of the programme for those interested in the full-time programme. To the left of your screens, so highlighting that we move through a number of modules. So modules 1 to 3 are what we would consider a postgraduate certificate, and this would include skills to effect change, rural business dynamics, and integrating learning with business needs. Then following the completion of those 3 modules and passing those 3 modules, then you will progress on to what we would describe as the PG diploma. For the full-time students, that happens in January to May. And again, another 3 taught modules are delivered to include research development, planning and evaluating change, and our new module, which is sustainability leadership. For the full-time folks, then you complete your master's programme by completing your master's project, and that happens over the summer period from June until August. Within that, then you as a student take on the responsibility of collecting your data and writing it up and doing your analysis support of a supervisor. For those interested in completing the course part-time, you can see on the right-hand side, it gives you what modules you will be covering in each year. So year one, we focus on our PG certificate modules. Year two, postgraduate diploma, and year three is focused on your research project. It is important to highlight that there is flexibility. You can apply to do the complete master's course and then actually decide maybe after your completion of your certificate or diploma, you can exit with that qualification. There is some flexibility if you apply to do the course full time and for whatever reason circumstances change, you may be able to transfer onto the part-time program depending on what stage that you're at. So that's a bit of an overview of the program. I'm going to hand over to David now to go into a wee bit more depth on each of the different topics and how that's covered.
Thanks, Michaela. Michaela gave a good background there on sort of the whole structure of the program. We're just going to go into a wee bit more depth on the modules. So looking at this, we have the first three modules, which for the full-time course is taught in semester one, so between January and December. And then for the part-time pathway, this will be your first year. So these three modules will be taught in that full year. Module one then is known as Skills to Affect Change Within Businesses, and within that you're really looking at channels of communication within business, very much so heavily on marketing, the consumer behavior aspect, because again, like Michaela highlighted, it's not necessarily a technical aspect, it's more the social science side on looking at how to deal with people and leadership, so it's looking at the consumer behavior element to that. Module 2 as well is known as Rural Business Dynamics. Within that, you're looking at organizational structures, so could be sole traders, partnerships, business dynamics, so the leadership styles within that, and then of course leadership and communication. Module 1 and Module 2 are both assessed similarly, where you have a report and then a presentation that is linked to the report, and that's how they are assessed. Module 3 then is a little bit different. It's called Integrating Learning with Business Needs. And within that, you're looking at different learning theories and learning styles and how to be able to actually manage people then. So you have planning, delivering, and assessing training. So how it is assessed is you have an observation, and then you have a reflective report on that observation after that. The full-timers, it's important to note that the full-timers complete that observation with the alongside the Loughry food degree. So they do their observation with the full-time class, and then the part-timers complete that observation within their own workplace. Now, if that can't be facilitated, we can facilitate that with your peers. So there's nothing to worry about with that. And then you have a reflective report just to write on how the observation went, really. So that's your first three modules. Again, just to highlight that you complete that within semester one on the full-time pathway, and then within year one on the part-time course. Module 4 then is quite an important module to highlight. So it's known as your research and development module, and it very much so plays a role within your final year or your final research project, whether that be over the summer for the full-time or in year 3 for the part-time. So it looks at producing a project proposal, a literature review, conceptualization, and methods within that. So you're gaining the background knowledge on how to write those sections, which then also formulates the first half of your research project. So it's there to help you and give a good foundation for your research project. How that's assessed is, again, it's sort of a report style where there's stats given to you and you complete a little stats assignment, and then there's a presentation involved with that as well. And Michaela teaches that module. Module 5, I deliver, and it's planning and evaluating change management programs. It goes back to the report style assessment, so you have a report and a presentation again within that module, and that's how it's assessed. Within that, you look at project management, drivers of change, and communication challenges. It's quite a nice social science module sometimes can be tricky to get your head around at the start, but it always comes around nicely in the end. Module 6 is a new module that's being delivered on the course, and it's known as Sustainability Leadership. And Darina, who currently isn't with us, but she delivers this module, and it looks at your corporate social responsibility, business ethics, environmental sustainability, stakeholder engagement, and innovation management. And there's definitely a lot of guest speakers within that module that come in from the industry to talk to the students. There's different workshops on creativity and innovation that are delivered within that module as well, and it's assessed on a report and a presentation as well. Sorry, just back to that last slide, just to highlight again, those 3 modules will be taught then in semester 2 for the full time, so from Christmas to around May time, and those then 3 modules within the part-time pathway will be your year 2 completion. The research project then, which ultimately gets you your master's qualification, your master's degree. So for the full-timers who we have currently completing their research projects, they started them sort of middle of June, towards the end of June, and they're completing that over the summer here. And then again, for part-timers, you have the full year to try and complete that. So the research project is focuses on social science. The whole master's focuses on social science, and that's about looking at people's behaviours, the decision-making process, their own attitudes to change, or so that's what a social science aspect looks at. So this means the focus is on studying and understanding the people who work and make decisions and are part of the agri-food supply chain and the rural environment and services for farmers, farming or food processing, retail and food service, and the consumers. So a few examples, we have currently people completed on the new farm sustainability payment scheme. So looking at how do farmers think about it, what are their attitudes to it, what could help them change to adopt the new payment scheme. Current projects we have going on, some look at farm diversification, some are looking at farmers' attitudes to alternative proteins. And there's a whole wide range. Looking at the consumer side, their willingness to accept higher welfare pork. There's a whole range and a whole different avenues you can take within that, as long as it's related to food or agriculture. It will largely be accepted or equine. So how the people interrelate, so their knowledge and attitudes and behaviour, and again, all the top modules that you undertake will help you focus on the knowledge, attitudes and behaviours aspect and look at different social science models to be able to help you for your research projects. People's views on the production and marketing of food, farming and environment, and then how knowledge is communicated and exchanged for a sustainable business environment. And I know Lindsay's here to talk to us, and she can maybe give a bit of insight into what her research project was on. But it's definitely fast-paced, but definitely worthwhile. That is that slide, Michaela. What our graduates say, I'll not focus on this too much. These 3 past graduates, you can look at their testimonies on the online website. Again, just to highlight that you have your graduation at Queen's with the Lanyon building in the background there, as you can see as well. More photos, some recent photos from our recent graduation. You have the option of, well, actually, I suppose it's unique that you have the option of 2 graduations, so you can graduate here at CAFRE as well, alongside Queen's. They're usually a day apart or maybe 2 days apart, so it's never too much of a hassle. Important to note and highlight here, there are awards alongside the programme. So top right photo, we have Victoria here with James Waugh, who won the overall Masters Awards, so the highest mark given to in the Masters project. And great day out, great opportunity to network and socialise within those graduations as well. Entry requirements and fees, probably what everybody is eager to know about. Entry requirements is expected to have at least a 2:2 honours degree or above, or equivalent qualification acceptable to the university in any discipline. Again, to highlight there that any degree background is welcome onto the course. Our so it's a wide range of degree backgrounds. Michaela's already highlighted what most of those are. Tuition fees as well. Important to significantly note there. We all can see the figure on screen. Full-time significantly cheaper than a master's, any other master's really. So in year one, you're looking at £2,885 for the academic year of 25 to 26. Part-time, it will be a fee of £960 over for each year. That is, again, that's coming into the 2025 to 2026 academic year. And then information on how to apply. A very important note to make here, that the application process is through the Queen's University website. So you need to go on to qub.ac.uk and go on to their postgraduate degrees that are offered there, and you will find, luckily, because it's in alphabetical order, you'll find it probably pretty much in the first screen. So business for Agri-Food and Rural Enterprise, and apply through that website. Fees then are paid to CAFRE. It's important to note here you can access all the information on either CAFRE or the Queen's website, and again, then you can have the opportunity to either contact Victoria or really anybody on the team to ask a few questions, or organise a meeting if you want a one-to-one session to understand more about what the course involves. Key points. Good job prospects. So the agri-food sector has a need for more managers. 95% of CAFRE graduates are in employment or within further education in the first 6 months of graduating. Very competitive fees. I've already highlighted that. Most masters you may be looking at 7,000 or above, whereas the full-time figure here is 2,885, and then that 960 per year for the part-time students. And again, there's another link on Victoria's email, so it's important probably to make a note of Victoria's email if you want to contact her directly.
Thank you very much, Michaela and David. So I hope you've all found that helpful and it's answered some of your questions. But we'll also have time to answer questions at the end too. So, okay, so I'll now start by introducing you to Lindsay, who is a graduate from our master's programme. Hello, Lindsay, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hopefully you can see and hear me. It's not the best lighting in here and a few lovely technical issues at the start, so hopefully everything's sorted.
Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks again for joining us as well and agreeing to talk about you and your experiences of being a graduate of our programme. I suppose just to start, could you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found the experience of studying a master's with us? What was it like?
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Lindsay Beatty and I am a communications officer at the Ulster Farmers Union, and I'm also the Bank of Ireland Open Farm Again Schools coordinator. So I suppose for me, every day is very different in my job, between writing press, social media, speaking to journalists, setting up queries, design and procurement, and also some social creation and content as well. I also grew up on a dairy farm in County Tyrone, so I have always had a passion for the agri-food industry. And at the end of the day, everyone has to eat as well, so it's a great career path to go down. As Michaela already said, for me, my route into studying the Masters is slightly different maybe from everybody else. So I initially went to university and studied a sports degree in the hope to do PE teaching. And once I graduated, I had the opportunity then to go and do my PGCE, but just through my roots in young farmers and also just transferable skills through my previous course, I had started then a student placement with the Ulster Farmers Union in communications and events. So I suppose from there, that's what maybe sparked the idea for myself to go down and do the Masters. And I actually done the Masters part-time. So at the time I was thinking about applying for the Masters, one of my colleagues in the Ulster Farmers Union was actually studying the CAFRE course, and then he really did talk me into doing it. So I went along to an open day at that stage to talk with the lecturers, and definitely it's something that I didn't regret. With it being part-time, as you saw on the screen, I then was able to work full-time still for the Ulster Farmers Union and complete that initial student placement to get my foot in through the door as such. So that was in Belfast, and then I was able then to travel down the road to Cookstown on a Thursday evening from 7 to 9, and I have to admit I really enjoyed the classes, and for me a massive factor was also learning from your fellow peers, because everybody has different career paths and maybe want to do the course for different reasons. So it was really interesting hearing everybody else's backgrounds, and as you could see from the screen as well, the different modules that you go through. Again, your fellow peers and indeed myself, we were able to bring different things to the table. So it was extremely interesting in hearing maybe how their organisations or businesses worked as well throughout the course. As you can see then from the modules and the assignments, there's a lot of presentations, and at that stage too, there was actually a lot of group work. And again, with doing the course part-time, I actually thought this was really enjoyable. And with being a communications officer then with the presentations, it really helped me in both, I suppose, my career, but also personally as well. Again, my sort of experience might be slightly different from yourself, as my first year, yes, we were in the class every Thursday evening, but then my second year, unfortunately, that dreaded C word of COVID that was decided to make an appearance. So of course we did adapt, and we were able to do our classes online, which was great. And we were still able to do obviously all of our assessments and our reports, albeit virtually. But no, I have to admit, I really did enjoy my time. And again, I think the people and your class, and because it is a smaller group of folk that maybe want to do it part-time, that there's really that personal sort of experience as well with your fellow peers, and again with your lecturers too, as if you do have any questions or queries, you're never afraid to put your hand up or to drop them an email, just to get a bit more information or a bit of help and assistance too on maybe what, especially for your first report, what maybe the layout is or what they actually expect as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. So just maybe thinking about the focus of the programme, which is very much around, leadership, change management and communication. What's your reflections on the content of the programme, and do you think it's benefited you?
It has definitely benefited me in my career path. As once I had my student placement done, I started then the master's programme. And from there, I was able to stay on with the Ulster Farmers Union and become a communications officer. So the communications aspect for me was a really big part of the masters, but also the leadership side of it as well. And I think, again, just with the different people in your class, you learn so much from them, particularly maybe in the leadership aspect. I'm thinking back to the group, my cohort. Again, there was a lot of folk from sort of the meat processing side of things, but there was also a bank manager as well. So it was so interesting hearing from those. And again, I think your skills are always transferable. Again, with one of the modules, it was about communication styles, and having sort of prior knowledge with a sports degree for teaching, that leadership and sort of change management, I find actually relatively straightforward. And I think because you do have an interest in doing the masters, that it's almost starts, everything makes sense to you, and what you're writing and your knowledge, your understanding really does come through. So it's not as scary as maybe the topics actually sound. A lot of stuff does actually become common sense, and you can adapt it to your workplace, or think of examples that maybe you've done within your workplace as well to sort of write about within your reports.
Thank you. Maybe thinking about the end of the programme when you completed your research project, can you tell us a little bit about your project and how that process was and how it went?
Yeah. So my research project title was "What colour of cows does the blue top milk come from?" And within that, then I explored food and farming education for primary school pupils. So the title was a bit of a mouthful, but for me, again, it was to help me within my job and my career. And from the findings, I was able to implement that in my job. and like findings range from like education programs and how we can get more agri education into primary schools, and I suppose as well touching on maybe what we can do for all levels of education. I think a massive help for me was being able to draft the first 3 chapters of this in your second year throughout your research. So it was a really good lead into, I suppose, maybe thinking about what you do want to do as your final piece of work in third year. And maybe if there's some areas that you need to tweak within those first 3 chapters, and then within then your third year for the part-time course, then really getting into the nitty-gritty and actually collecting all of your data and then looking into your findings. So it was quite nice within the part-time course that you had nearly 2 years to sort of think about it as such, with this in year 2 thinking about your first 3 chapters. So no, for me, my research project, I've utilised it now so many times within my job role. And just recently we've actually met with the Minister of Education to talk about more ways that we can again get agri-education implemented better across all levels of education. So I think whenever you are thinking about topics for your research project, that if you do something that is going to help you within your career path or something that you have a genuine interest in, it makes it so much more enjoyable. And for me, what I learned, I suppose you shouldn't really have a preconceived idea before you do your research, but it was so interesting for me because what I initially thought, my findings showed something completely different. So no, I really enjoyed it, and it's been almost 3 years now since I graduated, and the time has flown. And I think with doing it part-time at the start, you might think, oh my goodness, this is going to take for ages, but it really doesn't. You know, the modules fly in before you know it. You're completing your presentation or report, and then you're sort of straight back into the next one. So again, doing it part-time, I absolutely loved it. And I was actually laughing on the screen. Kelly is one of my co-workers. She also completed the Masters. At the minute, there is another member of staff in the union that is actually completing their Masters as well within this course. And again, they thoroughly enjoy it. And they've been picking my brain about some of the modules. And again, I've always said too that the lectures are always in hand as well to provide a bit of advice and help too. So no, definitely for me, both personally and professionally, it's completing the Masters and doing my research has helped me within my career path.
That's brilliant. Lindsay, just finally, is there any sort of advice you would offer people today considering doing a Masters with us?
I think just do it. You know, don't hesitate. Definitely, I've never regretted doing it. And actually afterwards, I had the initial thought of maybe do I go on and do a PhD? So no, I really enjoyed my time doing it part-time at Loughry. You know, just even learning from other people around you, and again with your lectures, like they're so approachable, they're there to help you as well. And within other modules, everything starts to click whenever you come to writing your report. And again, I think back to my first degree and thinking about writing, you know, your actual written assignments and reports. It was always sort of, yeah, you wanted to put it off, where within this Masters, I felt, no, actually, I really enjoyed it. And a lot of it then came down to actually common sense. You know, you could utilize what you've learned, your knowledge, and just speaking then to your fellow peers as well. Everything starts to click, which is always good. But whether you do it full-time or part-time, you know, it really is going to help you within your career path, whether you want to take on leadership roles within your organisation or just to get ahead as well and maybe step up the ladder. It definitely has stood me in good stead, and hopefully it will with everybody else on this call as well.
Thank you very much, Lindsay, for such, sharing such positive experiences of your time studying, with us. So at this stage, are there any questions for the team, myself or Lindsay?
There's actually 2 questions in the chat here, Victoria, and the first one is about PhD programs. So are there any PhD programs available?
Kelly, so CAFRE itself doesn't offer PhD opportunities, but within the Masters programme, we are very supportive for students to go on and progress onto a PhD. This year, 2 of our full-time students were very, very interested, and one's actually starting this September. So it's not something that CAFRE do, but it's something very much that the postgraduate team will support you in doing and give you as much advice and put you in contact, with the right people if we can, to get you, progressing if that's what you want to do.
And then we have another question from Anne regarding the closing date for applications.
Yeah, so as David had said, so the applications are made directly through Queen's, the Queen's portal. They do advise that you make an application before the 31st of July, just if the programme is over prescribed now, but in the past we have accepted applications up to the middle of August time, but it really is just depending on the number of people applying. But I would advise, if you're thinking of coming onto the programme, to put in an application before the end of this month. And if you have any questions at all, or you're finding it a wee bit difficult, don't hesitate to send us an email or pick up the phone. We'll try our best to help you through that as well. Is there any other question?
There is another question here, Victoria, in the chat regarding equivalent qualifications. So somebody hasn't got a honours degree or undergraduate degree, but they have an advanced diploma in finance. Is this an acceptable entry qualification?
That, because we don't deal with the applications, you would have to email or contact the Queen's admissions, the postgraduate admissions. What I can do is that Stephen, Stephen, I can send you an email of the contact number and the email address that you can, put that query to them. Unfortunately, we can't make a decision or really advise on the entry requirements. Is that okay? I'll send that out to you in an email just after we finish here, okay? Any other questions? Yeah, so if that's all our questions, so once again, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. And again, thank you to Michaela and David for your presentation, and of course, Lindsay, for sharing your experiences with us. After today, if you have any further questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the team or myself. My email is victoria.murphy@daera, daera-ni.gov.uk, or you can contact us through our CAFRE website. My details are also on the CAFRE website, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Just stop and